Most people believe wealth looks loud. They imagine billionaires rushing between meetings, grinding endlessly, chasing the next big thing. But the truth is quieter than that. Some of the wealthiest people in the world don't look busy at all. They don't rush. They don't repeat themselves. They don't look stressed. From the outside, they almost look lazy. And that misunderstanding is costly, because while most people spend their lives repeating effort, a few spend their time removing it. This audiobook is not about shortcuts. It's not about getting rich fast, and it's definitely not about avoiding work. It's about understanding why the people who seem to work the least often earn the most. This is the Quiet Billionaire, and this is where the misunderstanding begins. Chapter 1. Lazy Billionaire Secrets. People call them lazy because they don't see the beginning. They only see the end. They see a man who doesn't answer emails immediately, a woman who leaves early, someone who takes long walks while others stay late, and they assume comfort came easily. But comfort is rarely accidental. Let's talk about Daniel. Daniel wasn't born wealthy. He wasn't unusually talented, and no one would have called him lazy in his 20s. Back then, he worked harder than everyone around him. Long hours, few breaks, no weekends. But there was something different about how Daniel worked. He hated repeating himself. If a task needed to be done every day, he didn't ask how to do it faster. He asked why it needed to be done at all. If a mistake happened twice, he didn't blame people, he blamed the system. Most people work harder when things break. Daniel worked smarter so they wouldn't break again. At first, it looked inefficient. While others were busy, Daniel was thinking. While others were rushing, Daniel was redesigning. People whispered, "He's slow. He overthinks. He doesn't hustle like we do." What they didn't see was that Daniel was quietly removing himself from the equation. He automated decisions. He simplified processes. He built routines that didn't depend on motivation. And then something interesting happened. Daniel stopped being needed every day. Not because he wasn't valuable, but because he had made himself replaceable. This is the first secret people misunderstand. The goal is not to be busy. The goal is to be unnecessary. Busy people are trapped. Necessary people are free. Years later, Daniel's income kept coming. His calendar stayed light. His stress stayed low. From the outside, he looked lazy. But laziness wasn't the cause. Design was. Most people exhaust themselves repeating effort. Quiet billionaires exhaust effort itself. They don't win by working harder forever. They win by deciding earlier. Earlier what? Earlier boundaries, earlier systems, earlier discipline. They front-load effort so they don't have to backload regret. This is why their lives look calm later. It's not luck, it's timing. Another secret people don't like to hear: hard work doesn't scale. Systems do. Effort gets tired. Processes don't. When you see someone earning without visible struggle, you're not seeing laziness. You're seeing past effort still paying rent. And that's uncomfortable because it means the problem was never energy. It was repetition. The richest people you'll never hear about are not chasing more work. They're chasing fewer decisions. And once decisions disappear, life slows down. That slowness is mistaken for laziness, but it's actually mastery. The first secret of the so-called lazy billionaire is simple. They worked hard once so they wouldn't have to keep working hard forever. And most people never forgive them for that.
Chapter 5: How Lazy People Become Rich. Here's an uncomfortable truth. The people who become rich often hate unnecessary effort. They're allergic to inefficiency. They get irritated doing the same thing twice. They get bored repeating instructions. They get restless when systems don't work. From the outside, that looks like laziness, but it isn't. It's impatience with waste. Let's talk about Mira. Mira was never the hardest worker in the room. She finished her tasks early. She avoided overtime. She asked strange questions. Why do we do it this way? Who actually needs this? What happens if we stop? People didn't like those questions. They sounded lazy. They sounded risky. But Mira wasn't avoiding work. She was avoiding pointless work. While others stayed late, Mira went home and wrote notes. Notes about what could be removed, what could be simplified, what could be decided once instead of daily. She didn't chase promotions loudly. She built leverage quietly. Years later, Mira wasn't the busiest person in the company. She was the calmest. Her income didn't depend on hours anymore. It depended on structures she had already built. And that's the pattern people miss. Lazy-looking people don't avoid effort. They avoid continuous effort. They understand something early. Effort is expensive, not in money, in life. So they ask better questions. How can this work without me? How can this repeat without my energy? How can this survive my absence? Most people tie income to exhaustion. Quiet wealth unties them. This is why lazy people often get rich. They don't romanticize struggle. They don't worship burnout. They don't feel proud of being overwhelmed. They feel embarrassed by inefficiency, and embarrassment is a powerful teacher. Another example. Two people earn the same amount. One works harder every year. The other works less every year. Guess who becomes free? Lazy people design exits early. They don't want to be heroes. They want to be optional. And optionality is wealth's favorite companion. There's also a psychological difference. Lazy people think long-term because they don't want to suffer twice. Hard workers often think short-term because effort feels virtuous. But virtue doesn't compound. Ownership does. The mistake is thinking laziness means lack of ambition. In reality, it often means clarity. Clarity about what matters. Clarity about what doesn't. Clarity about what should never be repeated. When you see someone living calmly, earning steadily, and working quietly, you're not seeing laziness. You're seeing someone who removed friction from their life before it crushed them. And that's not a secret. It's a choice most people postpone until it's too late. If this story felt uncomfortable, that's a good sign. Because real wealth is rarely dramatic. It's quiet. It's planned. And it often looks lazy to people who are still repeating effort. This audiobook was created to explore how money, time, and identity quietly shape our lives. Not through hype, not through shortcuts, but through stories that stay with you. If you're interested in topics like billionaire mindset, hidden millionaire habits, work less, earn more philosophy, success without burnout, and how rich people really think, then you're in the right place. This is Tales of Worth, where stories teach what advice often can't. If this helped you think differently, consider listening again later. Some lessons only land when life slows down.